I'm Astrid Fisher from Safe Smart Access, and I thought I'd just invite Paul Seagar along for a bit of a chat. Paul is a business consultant with a background in chartered accountancy, and also recently ran a scaffolding company in Auckland. And Paul's business, Fifth Green, works with a lot of scaffolding companies, so I thought it was probably a nice idea to bring him along and just see if we can get some tips and advice from him at this time. So welcome, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So I guess, Paul, when we at Safe Smart realised that we had a couple of days to basically shut down the place and get ready to work from home, there were some immediate tasks that were obvious in terms of logistics and setting people up to work from home and that kind of thing. Can you tell us what kind of preparations you saw your customers making during that time, that 48 hours that we had to plan?
So a lot of them have been very focused on what the future looks like for them. A lot of my clients are in the scaffold industry themselves, and so most of them are going to be shut out completely from what they're going to be able to do, and unable to probably collect rental during this time unless the scaffold is up on a building considered an essential service and the contractor is still working on it. So a lot of them have been looking at cash flow forecasting, what they can be doing in the future, what their business looks like in the future is very important as well, how they can survive this, and also ensuring that they are applying for the right funding that is available to them, such as the wage subsidy scheme that it's currently offering.
Right. So with the wage subsidy, do you think that most companies have actually actioned that now if they're in that position?
So I haven't seen the latest stats on it, but I know that there was a significant influx at the very beginning. I imagine people are probably still going through that process as well. But the rules also changed regarding that last Friday, whereas previously the original announcement stated that the government would pay the wage on the condition that the employer would continue to pay or make reasonable efforts to pay at least 80% of the employee's wage. Now that condition's now been lifted. So if a business can only afford to pay the government subsidy, that's acceptable, which I think is a key thing for businesses that are going to be cash strapped at this time to be aware of. They don't need to be putting themselves under any additional pressure when they can just pay the wage subsidy. Obviously, the employees themselves will need to manage as best as possible throughout this time, and obviously maintaining the right staff and having the right culture in your organisation and supporting your staff through this is obviously very key as well.
Yeah, okay.
I also think it's important to note that the wage subsidy is still taxable to the employee. So the $585.80 that each employee is entitled to a week is before tax. So the usual taxes, your KiwiSaver, your PAYE, so on and so forth, will still come out of that figure there as well.
Right, okay, good to know. And what about the essential service status? Is that something that you've been involved with any of your customers?
So I've got a couple of clients that are potentially looking at being essential service, or at least some of the work they do. So if it's scaffold around a house, no, it's going to be the quick answer there typically. However, if it's scaffold around, let's say a new hospital is being built, which is going to require scaffold for the building to be done, then absolutely that will be considered an essential service. The covid19.govt.nz website has a lot of information regarding that, and that would probably be the first place I would recommend somebody would go to look at. I think it also provides a phone number that you can actually dial just to confirm or clarify if what you're doing. There's some interesting cases on the news last night. I saw a beekeeper who had to remove a nest from someone's house was actually considered an essential service. So you might be surprised at what is and what isn't.
Yeah. So if you are an essential service, would you need to have written confirmation of that?
Not that I'm aware of. This particular case I saw on the TV last night, they made the phone call, found out that he was, and simply went and did the job.
Okay.
There might be situations where I know of some customers that are locked out of their premises, their landlord, for whatever reason, has locked the gates and won't allow them back in until they can prove that they are actually an essential service. And then they are allowed back in. So depending on your own circumstances and your own situation, you may need to prove other things to potentially a landlord to gain access to your scaffold if you're in a situation like that.
And I guess sometimes there may be contractors who might be performing an essential service for a particular customer, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're an essential service across the board. Would that be right?
Absolutely, that's 100%.
Yeah.
So that's almost back to the example before I mentioned. If you're scaffolding a house, that job would not be considered essential. But if you're part of a team building a hospital, that probably is deemed an essential service. And so some jobs you may be able to collect rental on this time, others may not.
What about property leases?
So that's been a bit of a moving target of late.
Right.
There are a number of situations whereby commercial leases can actually have the rent voided throughout this time, throughout a lockout, where you're effectively barred from accessing your own premises. So the Auckland District Law Society commercial lease is the most common document that's used throughout Auckland and New Zealand, I believe, and that is typically what's the document that backs up most leases, and that specifically has a clause in there regarding lockouts and when you don't have access to your lease, to your premise, and therefore you're not obliged to be paying rent. In terms of pausing, yes, absolutely, you should be going through your P&L and understanding what costs you've got coming in, not just the cost itself, but actually looking into the invoice to see what is actually on there. For example, software licenses is a classic one whereby you might have 10 licenses, but of those 10 licenses, maybe only 1 or 2 of those are required right now because the other 8 belong to field staff who aren't working. So what's the point of paying for them?
Cool. So I guess like all times of adversity, it can actually be an opportunity to choose, I guess, which way you go and how you choose to react and adapt to the situation. That can make the very difference of the outcome at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So I think using the word opportunity there is 100% correct. It's not a holiday. We should be working on the business as opposed to in the business. So this is the right time to get in there and really understand what's going on in your business, where you're making your money, where you're losing your money, what efficiencies there are that you can improve, what's not working so well that you can turn off. Doing a deep dive into your business to understand who are your most profitable customers, or what are your most profitable customer segments. Even understanding details such as how long is a job typically up by customer type, I think is quite relevant and quite important, because that will dictate your scaffold requirements going forward in terms of whether you should be looking at purchasing more scaffold, or whether you could maybe survive with a dry hire contract to get you through a period where your stocks are low, but you're expecting jobs in the future to come down. So now's the time to go through and understand what really makes your business tick, because if you look at your business in terms of an iceberg and the key metrics of the business, most people will look at things like their profit and maybe their cash flow. But when you go beneath the surface of the iceberg and look at the metrics within your business, that really is going to tell you where you're making the most money, or where the nuggets of gold that you can uncover really lie. And then you can, once you know what they are, you can turn the volume up on those things and turn it down on things that aren't working. And in terms of your staff that are not working right now, again, it's not a holiday. This is, you're still paying them, they're still working effectively. Use them to do other things. I think when we spoke the other day, did I mention that there'll be companies out there that aren't SANS members right now, and SANS have a hurdle that a firm must clear to become a member. Now's the time to be looking at what that hurdle is, spotting the gaps that you have within your organisation in terms of what documentation or policies or procedures you may be missing, and to fill those gaps. You know, get your staff. I know for a fact that SARS require to understand what your scaffold erection and dismantle procedures and processes are, and there should be supporting documentation to back those up. Now, if you've got your leading hands sitting at home not doing it, now is the opportunity to get them in conjunction with what's in the good practice guidelines to create those documents for you so that you have them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, yeah, those people, those staff that are normally on the tools on site, there's lots of things that they can be doing
Absolutely.
from their chair.
Absolutely, correct.
Yeah, good. And no fatigue on the body.
No, exactly. So they should be coming back in 4 weeks, assuming they haven't been sitting on the couch watching Netflix for 4 weeks. They should be coming back refreshed, strong, and eager to get back into it.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem.
Stay safe.
You too.
We'll
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.